new station was being built at Ballyhoo, and new stations mean more work. Diesel had been assigned the job of taking the goods trains from Vickerstown to the new station. Although it wasn't difficult, he complained about it bitterly. One afternoon, Diesel was grumbling as he pulled into Vickerstown station. "Why should I have to wake up early every morning and take noisy tracks to the new station? Surely those silly passengers can just walk for a couple of minutes and get on here." "It's more than a couple, I'll have you know. Besides, those trucks are better behaved than ever thanks to Rosie. She could at least shunt them properly. Her job's to manage the yard, not your trains. You just want to laze about in the shed." Diesel spluttered, but Duck just laughed. The next morning, Rosie rumbled in with the trucks. As she shunted them into the siding, Diesel stirred. "Morning, Diesel. Your goods are down in the yard." "How wonderful." "It's lovely coming up to the station early in the morning. I wonder when I'll get to see more of the line." Suddenly, Diesel had a cheeky idea. "I was in your wheels once. I used to be nothing more than a yard worker, just like you, but I wanted to see more. The Fat Controller saw how well I shunted trains for other engines, and he rewarded me with letting me take trains on the main line." Diesel paused for effect. "I think that if you were to shunt trains, the Fat Controller would be quite pleased. A little initiative can take you a long way." "I have some time before I'm due back at the yard. Perhaps I could shunt your train before I go. How's that for helping out?" "What a splendid idea, Rosie. Most kind of you." For several days afterwards, Rosie would shunt Diesel's trains after she brought the trucks down. At first, she was eager to help, but balancing shunting with yard work soon wore her down. This didn't bother Diesel, of course. All he cared about were a few more minutes of shut-eye. One morning, Rosie fussed into the Vickerstown station and found Duck waiting at the platform. "Hello, Rosie. You do look tired." "Never mind me. Where's Diesel?"
"Oh, he's helping at the quarry this morning. I'll be taking the works train instead."
"Well, I'll have your train shunted as quick as I can."
"Why would you shunt my train?" Rosie explained her conversation with Diesel. "Oh, that Diesel. I knew he didn't like shunting, but I never thought he'd stoop this low."
"You mean shunting wasn't how Diesel got to working on the main line?"
"Good gracious, no. If that were all it took, even little Philip would be working on the main line. You let him shunt his own trains from now on if he's so good at it."
Rosie was fuming.
She wanted to pay Diesel out, and that's when an idea struck her.
"Yes, Duck. That's exactly what I'll do."
The next morning, the sun rose over the sheds. Diesel was fast asleep, having a lovely dream, when suddenly, "Diesel! Diesel, wake up!" Diesel's eyes jolted open. His driver was frantically trying to get him awake. "What's wrong?" "You've overslept, and now you're late." His driver showed him his watch. Sure enough, it was almost time for him to leave. The workman was standing at the platform, with no train in sight. "Oh, where's that Rosie?" There was no time to ponder that. Diesel hurriedly fetched the works coach and readied his train. He worked as fast as he could, but he was very late when he arrived at the platform. It was later still when he arrived at the construction site. The workmen erupted from the coach, fuming that their work had been delayed. Naturally, when the Fat Controller found out what happened, he had some choice words of his own for Diesel. The next morning, Rosie found Diesel shunting in the yard.
"Oh, this is a surprise. Decided to shunt your own trains for once."
"I'm sorry I tricked you. I certainly made a fool out of myself, didn't I?"
He paused and looked at his buffers. You've worked very hard the last few days, much harder than I have, in fact. How would you like it if I worked at the yard in your place for a while?
Oh, Diesel, do you mean it?
Of course. There's no better way to see more of the line, after all. The Fat Controller agreed to the change, and soon Rosie was hard at work on the main line. She revelled in her journeys to the construction site, and even took the first train to Ballyhoo Station when it opened. As for Diesel, he worked at the yard for some time. It was hard, dirty work, and the trucks put him through his paces. He was thankful when Rosie did come back, and when he returned to his shed, he felt his shut-eye was well earned.